Hi everybody, how are you today? I'm not going to do any angel stories this time. I wanted to talk about detachment. And yes, I'm sitting in front of a prism, so if you see all these little lights on my face, it's because it's reflecting rainbows. So does anybody know what detachment really is? A lot of people have, including myself, a really tough time with not being attached. Um, Detaching yourself to evolve and become more spiritual, it is one of the most important things to do, is to get rid of attachments. And it doesn't mean that you don't love someone or something or want it or need it in your life. It just means that you are more open-minded, easily able to forgive and to move on, and that you don't need to have an attachment to be happy or filling any voids that are lacking in your life or your heart. And I know that a lot of people have a hard time with grief when they lose a pet or a loved one, even a job or a home. Tragedy strikes, and we have attachments to people and our stuff. And spiritually, we're not supposed to have any attachments to anything. And like I said before, doesn't mean that you don't love that person or thing. It just means that you are more open and understanding that nothing is permanent. So, working on detachment in my own life, I do teach about it, and I thought I'd come on and just share a little story with you that happened with one of my clients and friends. She had an epiphany when we were on the phone. She was trying to recall something, remember something, and she was really struggling. Now, I say that you can call on angels, and Saint Anthony helps you with your memory, especially if you misplace something. But you already know, I'm sure, that when you think about something and try to force that to come into your mind, it doesn't work. You have to completely detach from it, meaning stop thinking about it. Move on to something else. And typically it will come. And she brought it up by saying, I got tired of thinking about it. It wasn't coming to me, so I just went on to something else. And as soon as she went on to something else and completely forgot about what it was that she was trying to remember, it came to her. This is what being detached can do for us. When you detach yourself from stress, when you detach yourself from something that is not for our highest good, or something that you are forcing, we'll say that, because I do know that when you try to force something, it doesn't work out. It might, but then it doesn't last. And that goes for relationships and whatever. So try to be okay with not knowing. Especially today. I mean, we're not going to know who is winning the election. And honestly, for me, I've detached myself from it because tomorrow I'm going to wake up in gratitude no matter who wins. I'm going to focus on the good no matter who wins. And I'm just going to keep living my life, praying for us and praying for the world. But I had to detach. I had to detach because it was so negative. So if you're finding this in your own life, negativity being toxic, maybe you're the one who's being negative and you don't even realize it, try to detach from whatever is bringing you down. It could be something as simple as caffeine. Detach. Try to be aware of what it is that's causing you to be, in a negative mindset. And if it is the world and all the problems going on in the world, then you have to detach from it. Stop going and looking for things that you already know you're not going to be happy with. And then when the outcome of the situation, whichever situation that might be, or relationship happens, then you have to grieve and know that, tomorrow's another day. And no matter whether or not Joe Schmo is happy or not, or you're happy or not, life is still going to go on. And that's where we have to learn how to make the best of everything. So learn about detachment. It definitely, it's helped me. My grandfather passed away. It was probably one of the smoothest transitions I've ever seen. And I just felt very at ease with everything. I knew he was going to a good place. And that really helps. Like, I detached from the idea that he needed to be here, because it can be extremely selfish when somebody's in pain. I've seen it in my life. I've seen somebody so attached to someone that the person who was trying to transition to the other side did not transition right away, because I know from a spiritual sense that when people are really grieving the loss of us, even if we're still here and we're making that transition, it prolongs our life. And we want to go home. We want to go to heaven and be free from our pain. But there are people here with such attachments that the loved one who's trying to transition just can't. That's why this might answer a question for you. So a lot of people come to me and say, I can't believe my loved one passed away when I left the room. And there's your reason. Your reason is because if you would have been in the room, they wouldn't have gone. They would not have been ready to pass, because they knew you were going to be upset. They love you and they wanted to stay with you, but they know they physically cannot. So that's a good example of releasing that attachment, and knowing that sometimes our attachments can be very selfish, very toxic. Some of us, we get ourselves attached to abusive relationships because we don't love ourselves. We don't think we're worthy or deserving. And that is so far from true. We are deserving of all good things. It doesn't matter what mistakes we've made in the past. I don't feel like anything is a mistake. I think everything is a lesson or an experience that we learn and grow from. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to talk about when it comes to detachment. It is definitely a moment-to-moment practice. I've had to let a lot of things go, and I'm talking not just material stuff, but feelings, opinions. That's a good one. Getting rid of your opinion and being more open-minded. If you're attached to one certain idea, how do you know that there's anything else out there that might be better? So that's another thing you can detach yourself from, is ideas. Now, as far as our pets are concerned, it is very difficult to detach from our animals because they know only unconditional love. They don't care if you kick them or push them aside or ignore them. They still love you. They still come to greet you at the door. They still sleep with you. Animals teach humans pretty much how to act. That's how we should be. We should be more compassionate. We should be more loving. And we should learn from our animals because they're in our lives a lot shorter than we would like. I know that I wish my animals would be here forever, but got to make the best of the time we have with them because we're the only constant in their life and their entire life, usually. Let's see what else. I think that might be it. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message and ask. The main goal is to have an open mind, to release your attachments to people, situations, things. I know when I do my meditation, one of the first things I ask is to be released from attachments, especially fear-based attachments, things that are not good for us, whether it be for our health, for our energy. Just get rid of those attachments and pray about it because it is not easy. I can tell you from experience, not just with me, but my clients. Some people are so attached to their material items That's why you see people on hoarders, because they think that either they're not going to live as I'm not quite sure what the word is. They don't feel like they're going to be able to survive without that stuff. And let me tell you, I had a neighbor, their daughter, who was definitely a hoarder. She had her house condemned after so many years of having it cleaned out by her father, who was elderly, and it just went right back to the way it was before. But in her situation, it wasn't just stuff. She lived with a son who was a germaphobe, and being that she didn't throw anything away, she had a house full of everything. Didn't throw anything away in the garbage, so everything was on the floor. Her son would spray everything with alcohol, which caused everything to get moldy. And her father, bless his heart, would go over and bail her out as far as cleaning everything up, trying to get her house back in shape until he got too old and he couldn't do it anymore. And then her house was condemned and she ended up moving in with them. And I can tell you that there was a night that she called me frantically upset because she'd gotten into an accident, totally her fault, and her car was completely totaled. And let me tell you, because her car was parked outside on our street, I could see the only place that there was that you could actually see in the car was her seat. Everything was filled with stuff, even her trunk. So she called me to go and get her car, well, the stuff out of her car. Now, this was years ago, and I remember thinking to myself, Amy, this is the time where you should say no. I didn't have the heart to say no. I know this woman had a massive illness. I knew she was not in her right frame of mind. She was constantly destroying her cars because she might have been very smart with her IQ, but she did not have any common sense. And hoarding was one of her things that she just felt like everything was a prized possession. So I didn't trust my gut. I followed her. Well, actually, I took her over to where her car was, and I told her I have 45 minutes before I have to be at a party or a picnic or something. And I said to her, we have to hurry up. Now you have to know that she was very slow, no cartilage in her knees, so she walked with a cane. It was very hard for her just to get in and out of my Jeep. So that was a fiasco. I kept praying in my head, like, please, please, God, help cure this woman of this disease that she has. And I know that we come here with a purpose. And I really feel like she was there to teach me not to have attachments to things. Because at that time in my life, yeah, I was still attached to a few things that I had and didn't want to get rid of, even though they served no purpose in my life. Now, when it comes to like a gift you've gotten or something that was passed on to you from generation to generation, that's a little bit different. Now, I will say, if you do tend to hoard things, take a picture of it and give it to somebody who can make a purpose out of it, who can use it for the good, or donate it to somebody who needs it more than you do. You don't have to hold on to stuff. You can't take it when you pass. And this is what I was trying to get across to my neighbor. She didn't want to hear it. So she started throwing things in these garbage bags. And I'm talking broken jars of applesauce. And I thought, oh, good. She's throwing in a garbage bag to throw it away. No, she was bringing it into my Jeep to take home. Stuffed animals, food that has been in there expired forever. And I just said to her, Bonnie, I don't have a lot of room in my car, in my Jeep. I had tons of donations for the local shelters in the back. And I had 3 kids in the Jeep with me. And she's throwing these trash bags filled with junk on their laps. And of course, I never made the party or the picnic because she didn't get done. She was crying and hysterical and needed to keep everything. And by this point, I was not feeling sympathy for her. I was getting annoyed. And I try very hard not to let my ego get to that point, knowing that she was not in her right mind. However, she definitely put me out of my whole day and the kids that I had with me. And I realized as we were driving home, I said to her, so where is all this stuff going? I can help you carry it into the house. She starts crying. No, you can't. My parents will see it. And I said, but anybody can see it. It was sitting in your car. It's always been sitting in your car. And more stuff kept being added to your car. You can see right in the windows. Still, nope. We have to find a new place for it. So I did not tell my husband at the time that it was going in our garage because I was not driving it around in my Jeep just to have a place for her to have it, because it was trash. It was all garbage. There was nothing that was worth saving. So then she went in the house. I emptied the Jeep, went about my day, and a couple months later, he decided he was going to clean the garage. Whoops, what did I forget? Everything was in there. And so he calls me to the back and he goes, what the heck is in these bags? What is all this crap? I'm like, well, I remember that time when I bailed out the neighbor. She didn't have anywhere to go with it. And he was like, well, guess where it's going? It's going in the garbage now. I don't remember. I have a feeling that she noticed and she was sobbing when he was throwing it all away. And we were both like, there is nothing worth saving in here. You have got to get rid of this attachment to this stuff. And it just, at that moment, I was very grateful that and nobody that I really know suffers from that disease. It is not pleasant. You feel really bad for those people because obviously she was missing something within herself, whether it be self-love, which I know she didn't have. I know she didn't get a lot of compliments and encouragement from her parents. So I know she was lacking in that respect. But her attachment to this stuff was just unreal to me. So that's just a story for you to understand that not saying that you are a hoarder, but it can get to that point when you just when you find yourself needing things, it's because you're missing something within. And that could be mostly the love and compassion for yourself. So take time to journal or meditate and do whatever is best for you, whatever works for you. Be open to trying new things. And know that having attachments it's not a good thing. We have to try and work hard daily to release our attachments, knowing that when our hands are full with all this stuff, they're not open to receive things that might be better. And that goes with your mind too. I hope you have a great day, everybody. And if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to message me and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you, everyone.